Waffles have very quickly become our go-to breakfast meal out here, which actually isn't too far off because when we were in town, every Sunday we would make waffles for breakfast. But out here, this puppy is super lucky because she gets half of my last waffle every time. So we put some peanut butter on it for her. So I eat mine with chocolate chips, and of course she doesn't get that. She just gets some peanut butter. But she loves it. Yeah. Love her waffles. Let's grab her half of a waffle. Let's put it in her food bowl. Come on. All right. Here's your half of a waffle. Enjoy. Today is also a day for showering, so this is kind of what our temporary setup looks like. We have the borrowed tank from our neighbor with our pump plugged into that. We're going to move our jackery over there because that actually is enough to power that, so it'll get powered by that. And then our hose runs all the way over here, and we have it kind of temp hanging on the side by side, and then we're going to stand on the pallet. So in case you were curious, this is what our showering looks like today. I'm pretty sure every time we use this thing, it's going to be different. In a different location, set up differently, I'm not sure, but today, this is what it's looking like. Since it's so nice out with the wind and the sun, the mosquitoes aren't that bad. So we're going to take advantage and kind of work in this shaded wooded area where that neighbor of ours pushed all these trees. So we have some of them cut for lumber, and then the ones that don't quite meet the standard, we're just chopping them up. We're going to gather some firewood and we're going to split them. Kind of try to start getting prepared for winter. Trying to burn up as many of the roots and stumps and just rotted pieces that we have, just because we want to keep the good stuff for firewood for the winter. But time to split. How good are you at splitting wood?
Top tier.
You think you're top tier at everything, don't you?
Sounds about right.
I'm just gonna take a guess and say that it pains you to cut this log.
I'm excited to cut this log.
Are
I want
you?
to see what's on the inside of that thing when I slice it up.
This is one of the trees that our neighbor pushed down when he was clearing some of our land. Although it looks like it's been dead for a very long time, but it has this massive burrow on it. So when it was all getting cleared, it did get a little bit of damage on it. So yeah, it's not going to be saved for any sort of project or anything, but we need lumber right now, and I guess Cody's okay with cutting it up for lumber. So we'll have to see what this looks like when we cut it open.
Well, I sliced up that burl on that spruce tree. I cut them into 2-inch slabs, except for the very first one there, that little guy. That one I have at 1 inch. But I think they turned out pretty neat. I expected a little more texture than what's in them, but they're still kind of cool. They'll need sanded and smoothed out, because the saw obviously doesn't make the smoothest of cuts, but they're pretty neat. I don't know what I'll do with them, if anything. And I'll probably cut off these long pieces so we don't have just the big board sticking off of them. And I don't know. We'll see. Figure out something eventually. Well, I've been milling away getting wood to start the foundation of our house, and I was told I needed to get as many 2x6s and 6x6s as I could for this platform to start. I've only got 5 6x6, but cutting them in half, they'd be plenty for the posts. But then this morning, Lori decided that she wanted to change the design, and now she needs a bunch of 4x6 instead of 6x6s. So I get to take all of these back over to the mill. I'll have to slice them once, and I'll get another 2x6 and then 4x6s. Hopefully she doesn't change her mind again and want to go back to 6x6s.
Last week, during one of our many trips into town, we bought all of the block for the foundation for our house. We were hoping to be able to start working on actually placing them and putting the boards on it, but we never got around to it. Kind of just too many small things came up. So this week is going to be the week of officially starting our house. Design-wise, it's going to be a floating foundation, so nothing's actually going to be connected to the concrete block. The block is really just a spacer between the ground to lift it up a little ways. And then we have some 4x6 beams that are going to be sitting upright. Well, they're going to be like this, but that way, across all of the concrete. And then on top of that, we'll do our floor framing, the floor joists. This whole area, the neighbor touched and kind of scraped away all the light stuff down to the hard clay. Right below this clay is actually a natural layer of gravel. So by talking to neighbors, we think it's going to be okay if we just build directly on this, especially for just like a small, more temporary type house. And it'll kind of just let us see for ourselves if this was a mistake or if it's going to be fine. We're going to start with this corner right here. And then we're going to do a 10-foot deck and then a 30-foot length for our cabin. So we're going to we decided to move it back 10 feet. So this stake is now going to be that stake. So this is going to be the front corner of our deck. So what we did is we just made sure in this corner there's a little bit of the roots still. We just kind of shoveled it away. And then we're going to put this block in the center of that post. And then it's going to be from this block that we measure and level everything off of this one. So hopefully we get this first one right. We're working on some different projects today. Cody's back there on the big mound of trees, kind of getting that all cleaned up. And I'm going to be here working on placing and leveling and squaring up all of this block. So before he went over there, I had him cut this little chunk of wood to the diagonal length that we need between all of the blocks. And then he put a little notch for me right here, so it's easy for me to measure just like the side length between every single block. So I have the side length mark, and then I have the diagonal length mark from here, so that I can kind of just do this by myself without needing a second person to hold a tape measure. So I'm gonna work on this, we'll see how far I can get, and he's gonna work over there, and we'll see how far he can get. He's already made a ton of progress, even though you can't tell because it's a lot of trees piled up over there. This stick for marking out diagonals and lengths is working out super nicely. These three are all perfectly spaced. This one was, but I ended up, when I went back to try to level it, realized it needed to be lifted up a lot. So I'm kind of simultaneously working on another project right now, and at that project, kind of digging up some gravelly sand. So what I'm doing is I'm using the stuff that I'm digging up from that project, I'm using it here to kind of raise any of these blocks that needs to be raised up. And then what I'll do, any clay that I'm digging up over there, I'm going to bring over here and I'm going to kind of put on the outer edges just so this doesn't just like wash away or anything like that. So this is now level. Now I need to re-square it, and I will show you where I'm getting all of this. Back behind where our house is going to be, not too far away, fairly close actually, is where we're going to have our outhouse. Kind of a faux pas thing to talk about probably, but which I think is kind of interesting though. Started digging a square, and you can see the different layers of different colored clay that we've got going on. And then at the very bottom, I've just started hitting some of that sand, gravel, kind of just natural gravel that they have. I would guess we're maybe 2.5 feet down. I don't think we're quite to 3 feet yet. that I started to hit this. So as I'm digging all of this up, I'm just going to be using it over at the house location. It's probably going to have to get a little bit bigger. It's only about a 3 foot by 3 foot square right now, but as I'm able to use the clay and the gravel bits other places, I can kind of start making this bigger as we go along. So like I said before, kind of simultaneously working on this and working on that. The first 6 posts right here have all been leveled and squared off. And as you can see, I kind of put this one beam up there. This is about how it's going to go. It's not cut to length or anything yet. It's kind of just sitting on there just to be up off the ground. So each beam is going to span 3 blocks, and then they're all going to run this way. And then our floor joists are going to sit up on top of the beams, and they're going to run this way. So first 6 done. We have a total of 45 blocks to level and square up. It's going to take a while, but I think it's going to look really nice once it's done, and it's definitely going to be worth it.
Mosquito, mosquito, I don't like you. Mosquito, mosquito, you're so annoying. What, are you recording right now?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm working.
Where's the camera? That one's gonna take a ton too.
That one. Probably.
Once you get done with these though, these are the main bad ones.
I'm so sweaty.
Oh yeah, me too. It's looking good though. Looking good.
We're getting there. There we go. Please be level. Oh, it's a pretty butterfly.
That is. Those tiger ones or whatever?
I was going to say a swallowtail, but I
have no idea.
it's not a monarch.
Definitely not a monarch.
Oh, it's so pretty. It's been some pretty slow progress going with this block. These ones over here all needed to get raised up so high. It took forever to dig out all of the gravel and just get it level and squared up. We're through the worst of it. Hopefully the rest of these kind of just get put in place pretty quick. We're a little over a quarter of the way done, and I think the goal today is to get at least halfway done with all of the block, if not a little bit more. But we have it to the point where we have 3 beams up. We could put another one here, but this one's just going to have to move, and that one's going to have to move too as I kind of keep squaring other blocks off of them. But so far I think it's looking pretty good. Just kind of have to keep cruising. didn't even notice mosquitoes out here. Yeah. Of course, the second I take off my jacket, I hear one. That one, I didn't have to do anything with.
Popped it down, it was good, huh?
I got rid of all the loose stuff, set it down, squared it up, checked the level, dead center. Officially.
So that one
Officially the quickest one.
is the same height as that one.
It better be. Row 3 is done. I mean, they're just sitting here temporary just to make it feel like we're further along than we actually are.
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie, this foundation project is starting to get pretty frustrating. The rain's making it pretty difficult, but we are officially 4 rows out of 5, so that feels pretty nice. We just have one more row to put right here. Once we have this 5th row in, we're gonna kind of go back through all of the blocks and just make sure they're all still sitting pretty level, because with the amount of rain that we're getting, you can see with this one, some of the clay has kind of washed away and some of the gravel is starting to get washed away. So this block that was perfectly level is now a little bit angled. It's not huge, but I kind of want this to be as perfect as we can. So we didn't have time before the rain came to kind of get this filled with a bunch of gravel and leveled off. So right now it is kind of a low spot. I did try around all these blocks that I had to build up with gravel. You can kind of see on this one, I tried building some clay up around to prevent it to wash away before we could come back and fill it all in, which most of them held pretty good, but like that one washed away just a little bit, and then this one right here washed away a little bit too. So there's just a few spots where we kind of just have to double check, make sure it's still sitting pretty good, and if it isn't, now is the time to fix it before the beams are all permanently on here and the floor joists start getting built. I just have to keep reminding myself that this is our first house that we're building. So just like how we kept saying the house in Wisconsin, it was the first house we ever fixed up. We could make all the mistakes we needed to make on that house. And being the first house that we're gonna build here, I think we can make all the mistakes that we're gonna make on this one, so that when we do get around to building our more permanent home. We'll have a lot of that experience and that knowledge for that one, but you know, you got to start somewhere, and right now this is just where we're starting. With this getting further along, that means that our pit has been dug so we can actually start building our outhouse. Our pit over here has definitely gotten a bit deeper. I'd say we're about 5 feet deep now, so you can kind of see that we have the different colors of clay. And then around the 2.5, 3 foot mark, it turns to gravel, like a really sandy gravel mix. And then at the very bottom, we kind of hit this super hard, compacted, just pure sand layer. It wasn't a lot, it's just a little bit down there, and then now it's kind of just back to more rocky gravel at the bottom, but that's kind of what our soil's looking like, if anyone cares. Our last trip over helping out the neighbor who's trying to move and cleaning up her property, we managed to pick up a lot of scavenged boards. They have a lot of nails and screws in them, but we'll clean them up, and I think that this stuff will be perfect for putting together our outhouse building. And then that's going to save us a lot of time from having to mill lumber for this, so we can focus solely on milling lumber for our house instead. So we should be able to put up something pretty good with these, and then we might use some of those like end cuts that we've been getting off of the lumber that we're milling for the house. So soon, hopefully. Soon, hopefully.
This week's been a pretty trying week with all the rain, but next week is looking like it's going to be a lot nicer, so we're going to try and get that foundation and outhouse done next week.
Okay, well, what are we going to say, so?
This is the end of the video.
Bye!